guy in the club for fishing every day. Fishinfrank. You say you want to catch some fish? Hey, welcome to the club. We're gonna help you get hooked up. So listen good now, bub. Fishin' Frank and Josh and Robert will tell you where to go. They're gonna share the scoop with you, and you'll be in the know. The place-by-place fishing report, it's your key to success. When you get on the water, you're sure to catch a mess. We'll tell you where to find them and how to make them bite. So sit back and enjoy the show, which is gonna start right now. Welcome to the Fishin' Frank's Fishing Club.
It looks like we're here. All three of us. Captain Josh, Robert, me, I'm Fishin' Frank. And I forgot to turn my music down. But anyway, now it won't be revibrating. So it is a Friday. And Friday means fishing report. And what a weird day. You know, you get some days that are just so good, and everything's been going along so great. Just taking a minute. What day is today? The 26th?
The 26th.
26th of December 2025. And we had last Sunday, I think it was, we asked people about helping out a little girl and who had never really had Christmas. I think she had gotten a couple of Christmas gifts here and there, but she had the most. She came out and she looks at all this stuff and she just freaks out, and she kind of goes along and she looks, and then there's a teddy bear up there, so she went and grabbed the teddy bear, hugged it, and stood back and looked at it. She says, "I want to ride my bike. I want to," but at 7 years old, the couple who went to Alabama and picked her up and brought her back to have a life, that was the first time anybody had ever taken her to see Santa.
Which just seems so bizarre. I mean, that's just what you do with a kid, right? But there's a lot of kids out there that don't have that experience.
And
sad.
So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who helped with that. And we asked for no money. We didn't want money for anything because, this was about showing a little kid that, people care about him. And for those of you who donate money, we'll probably be giving it to her next year because she had like most amazing Christmas ever. And I don't want her to go from having a giant Christmas this year. I didn't donate any money this year. I have money put back that next year we're going to give to the family to get her a little extra stuff so we can kind of downsize Christmas to a more reasonable level.
Yeah, the bar was set pretty high.
Pretty high this year.
It made up for all the ones that she didn't, basically.
Yeah, for the ones she didn't get, this one made up for everything. And you guys out there are amazing. And what we're going to do is make sure that next year, all that, most of that money goes in and does that. But we're going to kind of step it down to a more realistic Christmas. Just wanted to let you know what was going on.
And I think we'll have a chance to talk with her sometime next week.
Yeah, we've got to order a couple more mics. We don't have enough microphones for everybody. We only got, the 3 we're using.
Yeah.
So we got to put an overnight from, who did you get it from, Sweetwater?
I don't remember. You bought those, so.
Yeah, all right. I got to look up my thing and see where we got them from. So we got to buy more mics.
In the meantime,
where are we? At the Peace River, I guess. And time for the sunglasses to eliminate the crazy eyes. That way you don't think I'm having a stroke. Put the glass on, go to the green screen. It's
all
right
right
over here.
Let's see here now. One green screen, one Fishin' Frank on the green
there
screen.
I am. We still got to get the glass of water and do the glitter
Josh,
so I can just
we got a
transport into this.
And there we go.
There's everybody.
Okay, there's everybody. And let's see, I got to move this over. So hold on a sec. There we go.
There we go.
Bringing it over.
Now, just so
right.
you familiarize yourself with it, this is Boca Grande Pass, this Pine Island, Cape Hayes, Bull Bay, Turtle Bay, Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, Jobean, Englewood's over here, and we're starting here on the Peace River from Harbor Heights going up.
All right. Zooming it in, Frank.
Well,
Bazoom.
Robert?
That's a pretty good zoom. So the reports that I've been getting is a few guys have been getting some bull sharks up there off their docks and in the river proper. Little guys, like 2 to 4 foot. Most of them are in that 2 to.
Born this year.
Yeah, most of them are in that 2 to 3 feet, and then going up towards the was that 761? Is that the
Yes,
pier up there?
761 bridges up here.
So they've been getting actually some snapper up there, a lot of catfish, some gar, but a couple guys hooked into some small redfish, a couple of snook, and one guy even got a trout that far up, which
Really?
is yeah.
Well,
It wasn't a big one, but it was still surprising because it's been a
can
long
you
time.
move me up here where I can see stuff? No, the other way. The other way. All right. Now.
Let me zoom it.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Ooh, big fella. All right. We got to go just a little bit more. I got to get to right here.
Okay.
That's nice right there. All right. This is 761. Here's the water treatment plant. When you go from Punta Gorda to Port Charlotte, you follow the river up. When you get to Harbor Heights, you go to the left, follow that fork up. You get to the next kind of T, but you're going to keep again going off to the left, go around, you get up to the Navigator, the campground, you follow that around, and that's going to bring you up here to the bridge. When you come under this bridge, stop your boat, because right ahead of you, this is very, very shallow. But the main body of the river comes here and goes across, and this side is very deep. If you don't know that, you're going to have trouble. But when you come under the bridge, if you want to continue on plane, but your first time, I wouldn't do it. But you come over to the left and hug this shoreline until you get to the center of this channel, and then come up here. You go past the Fort Ogden Trestle, and as you're coming around, you get up here, and here's where Horse Creek cuts off. Now, the main body of the river looks like it goes this way. And all this rambling is to show you the divide between freshwater and saltwater. If you can zoom in right here, Josh. Yep, right there. See this sandbar that comes out here? As you come through the Narrows and you get up, here's Hancock Lake. What's the other name for that, Josh?
Aurin Lake.
Aurin Lake.
Aurin.
I can never pronounce it. Aurin, Hancock.
Some of the maps do say Iron Lake, but it's Aurin.
Right. But see where this shallow spot comes in here? Right about here, if you go up there on a very low tide, you'll actually see a little waterfall. It's about that tall. Above that is freshwater. And if the tide comes up, you won't see it. But this is about where the freshwater stops. Now, if you can go all the way back so I can see 41 and this, there you go. Keep going up a little further. You can go up further. There we go. Now, here's Port Charlotte. That's 41. Here's I-75. You're following the river all the way up here, and it keeps going all the way on up. And this is where the freshwater stops, way up here. Or the saltwater. So from here, this way, freshwater. From here, this way, salt/brackish water.
And of course, that'll depend on how much the river is flowing.
But right now,
this time of year when the river's barely flowing, then yeah.
On this moment of this time, because you're finding salt water all the way up to here. So that's why people say, well, how far up can you go and still catch snook and stuff? Right now this will change once the rain starts and all this becomes flooded. Sometimes the fresh water comes all the way down to the 41 bridge. But for right now, it's way up there. Way up by Hancock Lake.
Yep. And if you don't want to take your boat all that way up, there is a boat ramp right here at Lettuce Lake.
Lettuce Lake has a boat ramp, and Navigator has a boat ramp.
Yep.
You can put in at the Navigator. You go up Kings
Navigator
Highway.
over here.
And when you get out Kings Highway, looking at these strands of hair coming out, I always grab the wrong side of my head because everything's backwards. You cannot comb your hair when you're doing a green screen. You want to, okay, I'm going to make myself look a little better. Comb my hair. Don't work. Even if a brush hair doesn't work.
We're going to shave it, Frank.
Okay. Now.
All right. So are we on to the next spot then?
75 and Darst Park.
All right. Roberto?
So what they're doing there is they're getting a couple guys have gotten some small black drum, like 5 to 10 pounds. One guy did catch a redfish that was in with that 2 guys that told me about the black drum. And then they also got several whiting. But that's the only report that I've gotten from that area. They had 2 days of fishing up there, and that was their feedback on it. But no one else gave me anything special. I know we've had some pretty low tides this week, and that gets real skinny, especially on that north side.
Right.
So I think that might be part of it, too.
There is just so much. Now, historically, this time of year, this section on the northbound, the actual bridge, the bumpers on the bridge are here. And if you go through, you make this first left, avoid this corner. It's real shallow. Just
I'm going to
come out
zoom it a little
past
bit so we can, there we go.
Okay. But if you avoid this corner a little bit, just go a little past it, this is all very, very deep water. And the shallowest you're going to get following this route here is about 4 foot. So if you drift this section, you know, if the wind's coming this way, obviously you drift. Just a hook with a half a shrimp on it or a small live shrimp. And that, a lot of silver trout. And they're just like spotted trout with no spots. But this is historically good for that. And there's some redfish through this area usually. But reports are pretty skinny right now.
Yeah.
But just letting you know, if we, it's supposed to get cold and rainy next week.
It's supposed to yet.
Yep.
We'll see.
This is a great spot to hide from the rain. And if you back out, Josh, look, okay.
Sorry.
Let's see. Yep. Right here is a boat ramp. So you can come out here and come right out in the river and come down and be protected the whole time.
Yeah, it's a good
Harbor
place.
Heights boat ramp.
All right. That's taking us to the 41 bridges that look like that.
I know a lot of people have been fishing it lately, but the reports have been very, very inconsistent. A lot of little mangrove snapper, some snook at night, a couple of short cobia, and a couple of bull sharks. One guy did get a bull shark that was probably 4.5 foot, but I've had 3 different guys catch bull sharks off there that were in that, you know, this year's babies, like you said, about 36 inches roughly, but
Right.
still fun.
I've heard of a few small cobia, some oddball fish here and there, but there actually has been fish by the bridge. But that's going to stop the minute we get that next front in. That's going to push them all up or down. But this is going to become less good next week.
Yeah, next week will be a whole new animal.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole new animal.
Okay. Anybody at the Laishley Seawall?
No, sir.
Okay.
A couple people went down there, but they never gave me any feedback. One guy actually
Are
bought
they
a
fishing
couple.
this side, close to 41, or are they going over by the condos?
Going by the condos.
Okay, so over on this wall, you're allowed to fish yet?
Mm-hmm.
So many places they're going, no, you can't fish here, you can't fish here, but they won't fix the pier. They won't fix the other piers, you know, but yeah, no, you can't do this. Well, what's wrong with fishing, you know, by the piers and several of these places? You should be able to just go up and fish.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense
I don't
to
know
me.
what you're talking about, Frank. It's not like we have a constitutional right in Florida to fish.
Actually, we do.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we do, but
Yeah, a lot of good it does you
Local
when there's still a
governments.
bunch of no fishing signs all over the place.
if you think the federal government is bad, start looking in your back door and actually watch what people do when they're in office and then decide, should I vote this person back in? Not just because you recognize his frickin' name. Oh, gee, I've heard that name. I'll vote for him. Don't be a moron. Look at what they do. Are they doing anything good? Or are they screwing everything up?
All right, next spot, Spring
No
Lake Park.
frustration for me today.
None.
I just feel as happy as heck. No.
Settle down, Frank. I can take
Yes.
you out of there. Remember?
Yeah, I know you can mute my mic.
No, I can just get rid of you.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. I forgot.
All right, Spring Lake Park.
Transport me in and out. Spring Lake Park. Boat ramp is here. There is a little fishing pier here. And if you have a boat drifting, this area is good. But I also do this little section back here. All the way up at the top. A little bit more.
I'm getting there.
Little more, right there. This is midway. This bridge holds a lot of snook. That's good fishing under that bridge. You can come here and stand on the culvert pipe here, casting across to this side, and it's one of those, if you and the fish show up at the same time, it's great. But you get there, you give it a few minutes, it's not, but you're standing here on a culvert pipe and casting onto this side, and the jacks and stuff they come in and out of here on a regular basis, and it can be really awesome.
I don't know if that one's legal to fish. You might be trespassing to fish on that one.
There is a spot. You can come right down here.
Is there?
It's right there.
Okay. I can't zoom in any tighter because you know what it does. It just goes flat. So
It just wants to do the street view, and that doesn't do any good. It's
All right.
Google Earth, and we're very appreciative, Google, letting us use the maps. And
Google
stuff.
Earth has
Thank you
made
very
this so much simpler to do, but it still has its limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Including not telling us what the fishing is like in Spring Lake Park, Robert.
There's been some small snook being caught off the seawall right there by that little dock and right next to the bridge. A lot of little snapper. Been a few sheepshead being caught there too, but they're all small. It's been so blooming warm that the sheepshead haven't had to move up onto this end of the harbor at all, except for just a few stragglers here and there.
So you wouldn't expect to find keepers in there right now, just dinks?
There's always a possibility, but there's not any real serious numbers of them up here at all.
Okay.
It's just
Like coffee from the soup jungle.
way too
restaurant
warm.
Right down the way over here.
Well,
I went in there so upset this morning, and she was like, I'll buy your coffee. I'll buy that. She's so nice.
yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at the broader expanse here of saltwater and brackish canals in Port Charlotte, which is a pretty big area. I think I've got it all right
Very
there.
big area. So I've been hearing of a lot of little snook being caught off of people's docks, people trolling in and out of the canals picking up the little snook. And then there's been jacks coming through some very, I wouldn't say consistently, but more than normal.
They're spawning in the PGI canals, I think.
The jacks are?
I think so, because they hang out there so much. But I think there's getting to be a good enough population where they're starting to spread across, and they found this area here in the back of the Ackerman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go up to the end of Midway and go all over, and there's that big lake up there. And we haven't seen them up here until the last year or two, where they're starting to populate those areas. We're seeing them more and more in West Spring Lake and some of the other ones. So, yeah, it's, you know, Charlotte Harbor's an estuary.
Right.
How are they allowed to commercial fish in an estuary when Tampa Bay is a shipping bay and they're not allowed to commercial fish there?
They are in some areas, and it's the same thing with the upper harbor. There's actually time frames when they're not allowed to be above marker 1.
But it still just makes me nuts.
No, I know. I agree with you. I
I like the commercial fishermen. I depend on commercial fishermen.
You're not
But
going to sell much bait without them.
It's just, you know, there's do's and don'ts like anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a way to take care of the harbor, and there's a time to harvest and a time to leave it alone.
And my biggest problem is most of the guys who live here are pretty good about, okay, I got enough out of this spot, I'll go to the next spot and get some more. But we're starting to get a lot more of the younger people in that will just strip the spot bare and not care they don't get if they take everything out of that spot, they can't go back there in a month or 6 months or a year and get more. That's gone. They haven't learned that. They've got that, I want what I want right now.
Yeah.
And,
Immediate gratification, short-termer syndrome.
yeah, and it's really bad. More of the older commercial guys, I knew almost all of them, And they're really good people, really, really smart, because they would take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from the next place, and they kept their jobs going for decades. 40 years, 35 years, I knew some of these guys doing that.
Yeah,
So,
and also understood if you wreck the place where you fish, the fish might not come back. So these things are pretty basic, but some people miss
some of these
those
younger
lessons.
kids haven't figured out that just because you want it doesn't mean it's going to be there. You got to work with it.
No.
So,
All right.
next spot.
So we've got the small dock, snook, and the jacks. Is that all we had for that spot?
Pretty
Robert?
much it.
Okie doke. Moving on to El Jobean. See if I can
That I
find
haven't had much at all, except for a few guys fishing at night off of there, catching a lot of little snook and a couple even bigger snook. Just strictly doing catch and release up there, but I have not had a daytime report from a boater or a land-based guy at all this week. Unfortunately.
all after dark, huh?
Yeah.
We've got.
And I guess the cops have been a little bit more lenient too, as long as you're parking like a normal human being and not blocking right on the shoulder if you're pulling up in the middle of the island.
Mm-hmm.
The cops have been a little bit better for the most part because a lot of people have been parking there. But you're still safer to park down by the car wash and walk to it rather than risk getting a ticket or towed.
So it's we're going to end up having to do some videos on land, and which we always intended to do when we start doing our on the water stuff, because that woman who's doing the ad on the radio show coming up, the radio show is going to be on what, in a week or two?
The radio show starts a week from tomorrow.
A week from
January
tomorrow.
the 3rd, the first episode of Slack Tides Radio.
So the Saturday morning radio show on 92.9 Kicks Country with Robert and Josh. Let's see. No, he's over there.
Yeah,
Okay.
right there.
Robert is not
Robert's,
him.
Robert's there.
That's Robert.
Right there.
This is Josh.
That's where Robert is.
Okay. Doing the Brady Bunch thing in the morning. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's happening, one of your advertisers made me a really nice deal on redoing the whole inside of my boat. So you've got to come over. We got to film what the boat looks like now and how beat to death it is.
Oh, you want to do a before and after? That'll be great.
So you're gonna come over, help me pull the polling tower off. We're gonna do a whole before. I'm gonna show which decks you can put your fingers through, and the old boat's been beat up pretty good. But
All right. Next spot is the Myakka River area from the bridge down to Marker 8. I think we have both of those locations here in the picture.
Marker 8's right about here.
Robert?
So there hasn't been any real report in the river proper, but in the Myakka cutoff, I've had several guys that have been fishing up at the mouths that are a little nervous about going inside. And then
Port Charlotte side or
both sides.
Both sides. Here's the mouth of the Myakka River on the Port Charlotte side or the harbor side.
You zoom in a little bit tighter so we can see it just a little better.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now, when you look here, you'll see this little dark strip. The land is way back here, and this is all sandbar. So as I'm looking, going into the Myakka cutoff, what I want to do is be about, let's see this side. Okay, sorry, everything's backwards. I'm going to look at it, and I want to be way over on the west side, 3/4 of the way to the west. When you see the land on one side, the land on the other side, you want to be about 3/4 to the west. And there's a little trough that runs up in there, and this trough runs up in, and then there's kind of a hole here. So idle, as soon as you hit about 3 feet of water, go to dead slow idle your way in, and this hole has been filled in by Irma and several of the, Ian, some of the hurricanes have filled this hole in, but it's starting to reappear. This is all underwater. This is underwater, all this, all that yellow. And as you come in, this is where you're going to find some trout on this end. But be very careful, stay 3/4 of the way to the west, idle in here, and you'll find a spot here. There's a little bit of this is deep enough to kind of putt around in, popping cork. And if somebody's sitting right here, you can go right to the side and actually anchor up over here and cast towards the middle, or hug this shoreline and cast out towards the middle. But a lot of people mad at me because I get too specific about spots. I think it's funny. People are mad at me because I am trying to help people catch fish, and I'm doing too good a job.
But
So
those
they're
those
upset.
those are secret spots, Frank. The Myakka cutoff, that's a secret. How
it's
dare
a
you
s-
tell people?
What I like is somebody who's mad at me because I'm telling secret spots is found out is probably in his 20s, and I've been going to these spots since the 80s. So about twice as long as he's been alive. But it's his secret spots. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I just think it's hilarious.
Well, I hope he
It's
doesn't
pretty
have a
cool.
secret spot in the South Gulf Cove canals that we could talk
do we
about.
got any secret?
Catching Mayan cichlids and tilapia off their dock. A lot of guys in here this week with their grandkids using worms.
The good thing about it is great eating if you want to eat some fish. Both the cichlids and the tilapia are very good eating.
Yeah.
And they're-
Much better than the farm raised stuff that they sell in the grocery store.
Oh yeah, I don't eat that stuff.
Right.
I know it's okay for you and it's probably healthy, but
Okay, so do you know, just as an aside, how they raise a lot of that tilapia?
no.
Okay, so do you know what vertical integration is?
What?
Vertical integration.
Well, that's when you stack stuff on top of each other.
Well, not exactly, but in this case, it actually is. So we're going to raise both chickens and tilapia in the same area of land.
So they
What's
feed
the-
the chickens. The chickens poop in the water, and the tilapia eat the poop.
You got it.
Gotcha.
Because tilapia can grow just fine on that. And they'll tell you that it's actually the poop is fertilizing the water that's going to allow algae to grow, and the tilapia will eat that. And they do eat that too. But directly feeding them on chicken poop is a
We
big
were
part of
talking
where
about
those
a
fish come
lure
from.
That is made out of plastic, but had the appearance of being pinched out. This is more disturbing to my brain than that one.
Yeah. Well, and
What's next? The West Wall?
if you get the U.S. raised tilapia, it's not so bad. But anything that comes from overseas, assume that's how it's
Let's
done.
go to the West Wall. I don't want to think about this anymore.
Some things you want to just poke your mind's eye out with.
Yeah, I just want to go.
All right, the Western Wall. There she is.
A lot of little redfish, even a few legal sized ones being caught up underneath the bushes. And there's still quite a few small snook over there. But on top of the bar, there's actually been some pompano, a few short cobia, and an occasional trout. The numbers have not been great for the trout just because of how warm it's been, but they've definitely been around there. And the bigger trout are going to be ones and twos, and then you drift a little ways, and then you'll pick up another one or two. Your small trout are always in the schools, but your bigger trout are always singles and doubles.
Well, if you guys were wondering what I was doing, this here is green. It is nothing but a big green piece of material. And if I want to see something detailed, I have to walk up where I can see it on the monitor. So that's what I was doing, trying to see. And what I was looking for was right there, because that's the top. No, go back. No anticipation, sir. This is the top of the West Wall at Trout Creek, which runs down here to Muddy Bay.
You mean to zoom
which
in
is
on Muddy
a
Bay
big
too?
haze. So this is the area
Just zoom in
where...
on Muddy Bay for the heck of it.
Stop!
There it is, right there.
Stop!
Look at there it is. I did it.
I'm out. I'll go outside and have a smoke.
There you go. There's the West Wall. All right. Pompano, short cobia, a few trout. Any bonnet head sharks, Robert? Tell
your
me about the
child.
bonnet head sharks.
Can I get one of those little rotator knobs to adjust something in his rectum to get him to go left, right?
We're just
or
going to get
stop?
him one of those bark collars, and you can just sit over there from that side and we'll zing him.
All right, then I assume we're done with that spot.
Yes, sir.
We'll move on to the Cape Hayes bar.
Yes. Nothing at
All
Cape
right.
Hayes that I can think of that I've heard.
Somewhere in there. We can sort of see it. There it is. Sort of. Nothing at Cape Hayes bar?
Nope. No
Okay, great.
reports from there.
Move on to Turtle and Bull Bays then. Okay. There we go. We got them.
Kind of the same thing going on in there. There's redfish scattered throughout the whole place, both under the bushes, out in some of the holes, and mixed in with the mullet. And then the snook have been mostly under the bushes. We've had some low tides this week, so people have been able to see some of the redfish and snook being caught in some of these little pockets back in there. And then around the shacks and some of the deeper cuts, both in bull, turtle, they've been getting some sheepshead and some mangrove snapper. Oddball trout, but most of the trout have been small that I've heard of in there. Nothing really to speak of. No, I hear of a lot of sheepshead in there around some of the new oyster patches that they've put in there, but I haven't heard of anything big at all.
You know, and I thought it was a huge waste of money to put oyster shells in the water to grow oysters up in the Peace River. But this was actually a really good place to put those oyster shells.
One of the
It might
smarter
take
spots.
A little while, but they need to.
So here's those artificial oyster bars that are in place. And they are growing oysters on them, if you go look at them.
That's in the middle of Turtle Bay?
It's in, yeah, as you come in, it's pretty much dead center where it starts to narrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's where the old shack you sit on there, and then the shack got wrecked, and there used to be plumbing sticking out of the sand and pipes and a few bits, and that's now pretty much gone.
Okay.
But it was always a sandbar there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't even seen them. I've been in there a couple times, but I haven't seen the actual oyster patches, so I have no idea.
If you get a 1.5 tide, it's all underwater.
Mm-hmm.
You get down to negative, 0.8 or less, and then you start seeing sand out of the water.
Okay.
All right. The Cape Hayes Reef area, which is somewhere out
Can we please take that out?
generally here. You want to take it out?
Yeah. Do we have to do the Cape Hayes Reef and Danger Reef anymore?
No, I don't think so.
There's
Okay.
just
We'll
not
take 'em
enough
out.
There. And how many times can we say there's not many reports? Hey there.
All right. Let's move on to Gasparilla
How many shrimp you
Sound.
want for tomorrow, Robert?
8, definitely.
Yeah, 8. See,
All right.
we're fairly close to the store.
Shush, Frank. It's a secret location.
Yes.
All right. So there's Bull Bay.
That way,
And
when the
we
Russian and Chinese attack, they won't know where we're broadcasting from. They won't be able to put us out of business.
And then we slide
They won't
over
be able to silence
here.
us.
And then this will be Gasparilla
good.
Sound. All right. Gasparilla Sound.
Gasparilla Sound's got the most reports of this whole report. Partially due just because of its location and safety for people to drive around. The snook and redfish have been right up against the shoreline from Catfish Creek all the way down to, Devilfish, and then also over on the opposite side behind Boca Grande.
This
And-
is Three Sisters area here.
That's
It's historically very good trout and snook.
That's what I was going to just ask you about. So there, I've been getting some good reports on trout, but also just to the north, working its way up towards that.
The other bar.
No, even further than that, I think, because I can't tell on the map. But where's 19th Street, where the kayak launch is at?
That's down further.
I thought that was up further than Three Sisters.
Yeah, it's right behind Three Sisters.
Okay, well
It's
then they were
almost immediately behind there.
okay. They were going to the north end, but they caught a lot of trout. They got all over those grass flats. They got
Yeah,
into some trout
that's
up to
19th Street right
20,
there.
20 inches, I think.
Yeah, because if you leave the kayak ramp and you come straight out, you've got a lot of deep water, and this is just very shallow water. It's not dirt. This is shallow water. It shows up the brown because of the bottom there. We've lost a lot of the grass. But as you can see, there's little windy ways you can get back into here.
Mm-hmm.
And out here around the outside islands, you can actually do really good on the trout. It's a bit of a paddle, but it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Nice
yeah.
place to go.
That's what they were saying. They had a really beautiful time over there. And out in the main channel, there's been schools of Spanish mackerel coming through. Not consistently, but they've been moving through, along with a few bluefish and some really big ladyfish, like
Now-
24-inch ladyfish.
Yeah, and this is absolutely do not anchor out here. This is where the boats are supposed to go through. You can idle across or just drift across if there's not a lot of boats coming. But if there's a boat coming, just because you're there, that does not give you right away. You want to get out of people's way. Because if there's a 40-foot boat going through at 28 miles an hour, that's 4 or 5 foot wake. You're going to have problems.
Yeah. And a lot of people have a misreading of the general nav rules where it says that a boat that's fishing, they don't mean you fishing with your rod and reel. They mean a boat that's pulling nets behind them.
Yeah, it's
They are,
commercial
yeah, they're
fishing.
going to have a hard time navigating. You're not.
Yeah, you're not to do that. This is Devilfish Key here. And devilfish, this long, shallow, this is where a lot of people come to get bait in this area around devilfish. Not on the shoreline. It's pretty darn shallow, but in these areas out here, you have a lot of depressions. You can actually see some off of here where you see the depressions on the darker areas. Same thing on this side. This area here, from up here, all.
Are you going to hit me?
I'm going to glue your little fingers to the table. Stop. Okay. Where the hell am I? Oh, here I am. Okay, devilfish, the area around here, this is where a lot of people get bait. Like I say, not by the shorelines, but in the area around it, all the way up to Keopolu here and back over.
Gotta
Like
move it
that
now.
area.
Yes, you
Okay, because we're going to Placida. Placida, the pier, the trestle, the Coral Creek Pier, and Gasparilla Pass, and such associated areas.
Which one's Dog Island here, Josh?
Let's zoom in.
Where everybody, is this the one where everybody goes
Yeah.
around to party?
I don't remember. There's Dog Island and there's Picnic Island, and I never remember which one is which.
Yeah,
but
I don't either.
The party bar where everybody goes is right here.
Right here.
Yeah.
Dog Island is the one that's behind there, behind the trestle on the south side, I would say. Then it's closer to the drawbridge trestle, but behind it, that's considered Dog Island, I believe. I think Picnic Island is the one that's on the Gulf side of the road.
I don't know.
That's
I
where-
know there's a bunch of islands
Yep.
here, and I can't keep up with the names of which ones are which.
Dog Island's where they set up that yacht club fishing or yacht club party barge when they do that.
I
Festival
I
out
agree with
there.
you. I still don't know which one it is. So,
Well, I'm having a hard time
yes,
describing
I know
it.
that. That's why I was.
I can
asking,
see-
Do you know which one it is?
When you're standing on the Placida Pier at the very end,
Right.
it's the island just to your left.
Okay, that would be this.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I can't see the map well enough, so I'm just.
I understand, but I'm just saying you're telling me the one, and I'm like, I still don't know which one it is.
Yep.
So, it's okay, because these islands pop in and out of the water. It's hard to remember. You see a bunch of boats all conglomerated around a sandbar, and they'll say, "Okay, we were at such and such island or whatever."
Right.
But anyway, a lot of good, nice channel through here. But the fishing, as you see these deeper sections and coming through this opening in the trestle, remember, don't block where people go through, but on either side of that, there can be some great fishing.
Yeah.
Really nice stuff in there.
Very scattered reports of some sheepshead. One day they're big ones, and the next day they're all small ones. It's been super inconsistent because of the weather, you know, obviously being warm. There's been a few pompano, a couple of bonnet heads being caught, even a few Spanish mackerel coming and going through there.
You
Towards,
need, what, about another 5 degrees of temperature to get a more mackerel?
yeah, they're all over off the beaches. They're just kind of scattered inside, and I think that's because it's just cold enough for the bait not to be inside and good enough consistency. It's popping in and out, and then moving out, moving in.
It's not the fish care that much about the temperature, but the bait does.
Yeah.
The smaller you are, the more affected by all this you are.
Yeah, they've also been getting some whiting and a couple of oversized redfish at those docks that are on the, I guess that's the north side of Boca Grande, going out a little Gasparilla Pass there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a couple guys have gotten some nice redfish oversized on those, along with the whiting, couple small mangrove snapper. They saw a couple snook there. I mean, the water's super, super clear through the whole area, so you can, if you're really paying attention and drifting nice and slow or anchored up and waiting, you're seeing fish sporadically coming through that whole area.
Well, we're talking about these docks along here, and as soon as Josh gets between words, I'm going to zoom out a little bit.
Zooming out.
Thank you. A little bit more.
Zooming out.
Okay. One of the things that you're seeing all through this area, Gasparilla Pass, the shallows, the real deep channel here, the causeway where the drawbridges are and the cars go back and forth to the old railroad trestle that runs up and down here. This is clear water. If you're going to fish there, I highly suggest you get rid of the braid and go back to like 6-8 pound mono or fluorocarbon with a fluorocarbon leader. because that's the sneakiest way to approach these fish. It's mostly open water, except you're around some docks and pilings, and you don't have to worry about it stretching back and breaking off. If you're hooked, you're probably hooked. You're not going to get it back. So you don't have to worry about it stretching, shooting missiles at you. So in this whole area up through here with this beautiful clean water, take a reel that you've got that's a 2,000 or a 2,500, go to 6 or 8 pound either mono or fluorocarbon line, and then use your fluorocarbon leader. And you will see an increase in your fish. Because braid, I don't care what color it is, it's cloth. You throw it in the water, you're going to see it. So they say, well, that's why I got a leader on. Well, you got 3 feet of leader and 60 feet of line. Which one is causing the most presence in the water? And that would be the line. And if the fish is past where you're casting, the leader is very important. But if you had to throw over their head to, okay, there's my hand. I lose my hand on the side there. If the fish are here and you're casting here, then the leader is in between you and the fish. But if you throw over the fish for any reason, first thing on their head is the line. So switch to either mono or fluorocarbon line when you're fishing this clear water. Get rid of the braid for a while. Have your rods with the braid there, but take one rod, go back to basics, mono or fluorocarbon line with a fluorocarbon leader. And you will see a big increase in your fish.
And I'll add one step to that too, is that the harmonics of it is completely different too.
I can't hear you, Robert.
Oh, the harmonics are completely different.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Harmonics, you mean the line buzzing in the water?
uh-huh.
Absolutely.
You know, you taught me that and pointed that out to me fishing in the backyard. It's just crazy.
Remember, I'm deaf.
Yeah.
I'm diabetic. I'm deaf. I'm crippled. You know, you got to really make allowances for me, right, Robert?
Right.
All right, making our slow way up to Lemon Bay.
I've got nothing for up in there. I just don't get that many reports.
Okay, making our
Unfortunately.
way out of Lemon Bay and moving on to the Gulf.
First announcements, we're going to be doing viewer reports. You can send us an email or pictures or videos of what you're doing, and we're going to include the fishing report in the next few weeks. This is the pre-announcement, but if you have something to add to report, because we're getting people in the comments and stuff, and we want to put it on the report. So as soon as today we should get the email address up so that you'll have a place to send this stuff to. But you'll be able to email us reports, send pictures, send videos, all this stuff to be included in this. But if you're typing a report to us, it'd be great if you put a picture of yourself with a fish. You know.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
That's coming up probably by next week. We'll be announcing it, but we still have some work to do to make all this work. But coming soon.
And as always with the fishing reports, we're not asking for your secretest secret spots. We want your general area where you are, like what we talk about here. Were you in Lemon Bay? If you want to tell us you were in the area of Stump Pass, that's great. If you want to tell us that you were at the third tree on the left side of Stump Pass, that's great too. But we don't need that level of information.
I had a customer come in this morning. We just got done talking to him before we came in to record this, and he's like, well, I said, shut up, don't tell me. He says, well, you know, I trust you. And I'm like, don't trust me. I tell people where to go catch fish. That's what I do for a living. I tell people how to catch fish. And if you tell me exactly where, I don't consciously want to tell somebody. But I probably will. And so I tell people, tell me areas. Don't tell me there. Tell me in this area.
Yeah.
Makes it much better for the report.
I think so.
Well, I don't want specifically where somebody's catching a fish, because what if I screw up and tell people?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they're mad at me, and it wasn't my fault. You had to tell me, you know?
We don't need that level of information.
But I tell people all the time that are giving me reports, like, just give me the general area.
Like, for example, this general area known as the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America.
Right over in here.
I'm getting used to it.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting used to it. But for most people, okay, it's Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, it's not a big deal. But when you've repeated something for 40 years and you say it every week, at least 20, 30, 50 times a week, it's different than somebody who lives inland and goes, oh, and once a year or every 5 years they say those names. But I'm getting used to it. I like it. Getting used to it.
There's still a 96% chance I'm saying Gulf of Mexico.
I don't
It's
think
just
it matters.
happened too many times.
It's going to take a while to get used to it, just because every week on the fishing reports we have said Gulf of Mexico, and how many times a day does a customer come in and say, I'm going out in the Gulf to catch fish, and so
Dozens and dozens.
But I'm getting used to it now.
Robert, what reports do we have from the Gulfo?
We got Spanish mackerel right along the beach, anywhere from 2 miles out to 10 miles out. There's been a lot of people looking for the triple tail because we've actually had some nice weather lately, but the only ones they're finding are very small. I've had guys go as far north as North Venice, basically Nokomis, and go as far south as Fort Myers Beach, and they're just having a struggle of a time trying to find anything of legal size. A couple guys did see some bigger cobia sitting on the buoys out there. And then near shore reefs, 10 miles out to 20 miles out, porgies, grunts, a few lane snapper. One guy did hook a legal cobia, landed a legal cobia. I think he said it was like 37 inches that he brought home.
Legal's 36?
36, yeah. And then had several guys catching some red grouper out there in 90 to 110 feet of water. Just past the Bayaranto. On that hard bottom that's just to the west of it. He caught a couple legal red grouper off of that. He caught a couple yellowtail. He caught some grunts. My next door neighbor gave me a text. They went out there, though, in that area, and all they could get was some grunts and some small lane snapper.
So a lot of gas to get grunts.
Yeah.
You could do the same thing here with it about 3 miles.
That's what he was telling me when I finally called him and talked to him. He's like, yeah, I should have just stayed at 10 miles out and done the same thing.
It's that expectation. You want to get out here and you want to be catching 30 to 80 pound fish, and then you end up with the very, very tasty, but very small.
Yeah, grocery shopping. That's what I call it.
Yep. That's what Dad used to do. Grocery
Yep.
shopping.
Yep. But that's about it. I haven't heard of any kings or any other pelagic out there worthwhile talking about. A lot of guys are seeing flying fish all over the place, though, when they're heading out. Yeah. Yeah. There's.
I don't know that it means the fishing's better or worse, but you're heading out and all of a sudden all these fish just start scurrying along and they're flying through the air.
It's a neat sight to me every time.
To see a fish fly and they're actually flapping their wings, staying airborne.
Yep.
They're not jumping from one spot to the next.
Yeah.
So if you watch a slow-mo video of a flying fish, you'll see that it's mostly the tail motion that keeps them up. And the wings, they look like they're moving a little bit, but it's really not so much with it because they don't have the musculature to do it.
Well,
so if you
he's
want...
talking about all these fish and their motions and how they do this and all they do that, but he's leaving this way over here instead of over here. And every other time, I don't want him to move it. What does he do? So I got to sit here and watch how I'm standing so I don't block anything.
Well, look, the report was for the Gulf, okay? We were looking at it. There it is. It's very big and empty and blue.
If you're going to do motion on stuff, come on, get those hands moving, buddy.
Yeah. Now, if you want a fish that actually flies, look at the freshwater hatchet fishes. They have
what?
Freshwater hatchet fish. They have a very deep sternum. The shape is kind of very deep-bodied, and
Like
they
the
actually
big breast of a chicken or something.
exactly, and they actually do have the muscles to flap those fins. You ever keep hatchet fish in an aquarium, Robert?
Nope.
They literally will
interest me.
fly out of your tank and fly across the room because they're actually flying as they go.
So you've destroyed my illusions about the flying fish.
I did.
Are you just, what next? You're going to tell me that Rudolph wasn't real?
No,
He didn't have a red nose?
he definitely had a red nose. That
Okay.
I've seen.
Don't be destroying all of my illusions in one day.
I'm leaving you with the important ones.
Yeah, Rudolph is important. I can handle Rudolph. Okay.
Would you like to move on to the next spot?
Yes.
Okay, then let's. We'll do the Venice jetties and the Venice Pier. North jetty being open, south jetty being closed, and the pier, of course, being open. Look, there's the jetties right there.
So they're catching a lot of small sheepshead off of there right now. I have not heard of very many big ones, but quite a few small ones. They've been getting some good whiting there, though, both off the jetties and right along the beach itself. A few Spanish mackerel have been coming through there. And that's pretty much about it, except for one guy did catch a big redfish off of there. He was using cut whiting and caught like a 36-inch redfish. It was a pretty cool picture of him. And then as far as sharkies...
Just so Robert's looking more at the camera because he looks at me and he's off to the side, so I'm trying to get over here where it looks.
Sharkies is doing pretty good. A lot of Spanish mackerel, some whiting, then a couple flounder, actually. And some small redfish. Those were caught at night. And then a couple guys did catch some snook at night. And one guy was saying that there was a pretty big barracuda hanging around there the other day that everyone was trying to catch but couldn't get them to hit anything. Sharkies.
Sharkies, okay.
And then there has been a couple of bonnet heads and small, I'm going to say that they were probably sharp-nosed sharks. It was hard to tell from their picture. But maybe black tips, I don't know.
Yeah, we had a guy come in and he had videos of fish in the canal, so the water's a little stained. It's very clear, but it was a little stained. But he's looking down from the top. We're seeing the nose and stuff, and I'm about possibly mangrove snappers, but I would say either cichlids or tilapia would be my best guess from the way they were acting,
right?
As much as from the top, because they weren't a jack, they weren't. But they had weird fins, kind of like a jack. Mm-hmm. So, but they weren't quite elongated enough. So, just it's so hard to identify fish if you don't get a side picture or something where they're actually moving around.
Yeah, side profile is definitely far better way of an angle for a shot, even if it's video or not.
Down. We gotta be going to Punta
Gorda.
The end of the earth down here. Once you get underneath that bridge, you just fall off flat earth. It just drops right there.
Well, there's a dragon first, so he'll probably get you. Don't worry about falling off.
Oh, there's a dragon.
Yeah.
I've got nothing from down there in Ponderosa at all.
Okay. Then I guess we'll just have no choice but to go north.
My main guy who kayak fishes and boat fishes down there, he went up north for Christmas holidays. So I got nothing from him.
Matt from Naked and Afraid?
I have not seen him in the shop at all for a while.
Yeah, I wonder if they're shooting something again, because we gotta get him over it. If you ever watch Naked and Afraid, you know, Matt, Tarzan with the bow and arrow and all that stuff, he comes in the store all the time. One of the funniest humans you'll ever meet. He's literally amazing. We gotta get him on here.
Right.
Don't know why you were talking about that. It just all of a sudden I was thinking about Matt, and I hadn't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a few months since I've seen him.
Yeah, let's give him a call. So,
Redfish Pass.
Yeah,
Redfish Pass, I got nothing there.
Matt will have clothes on. When he comes to the store, he is not naked.
The women viewership would probably go up higher if he didn't.
Yeah, well.
I was going to ask, but I was the second part, the afraid part. So, how about Captiva Pass?
Captiva Pass has had Spanish mackerel, a few bonnethead sharks, been some trout just on the inside. People cruising around those grass flats that are just on the inside to the north there. And then the couple of undersized gag grouper. That's been the coolest part, is all the little baby gag grouper that I've been getting reports on from there all the way up through the whole intercoastal this last 2 weeks, really.
So all along the intercoastal with the gag grouper. Huh?
Yeah, baby gags from 12-inch or 8 inches all the way up to, I think the biggest one I heard of was like 16 inches. But we went what, 4, 5, 6 years?
I love trolling the ICW, go along about 5 miles an hour, hit those grouper in there. Every once in a while you get a legal one.
Right.
Mostly around Placida, though.
Right. It's just fascinating because we went 5, 6 years without even hearing of any baby gags out there at all.
Yep.
So to all of a sudden finally getting some reports, it's really pretty nice.
Sorry, when I talk, I should be over here.
That's okay. Boca Grande Pass.
So there's still some tarpon in there.
Oh, come on.
There is. There was as of day before yesterday. Now, here's the funny part. Remember we were talking about what to use in there, and I suggested probably vertical jigs being one of them. That's what a couple of guys have been using. A couple of guys have been using like the crippled herring. A couple of guys have been using the diamond jig.
Speed jigs,
Yep.
drop jigs,
Yep.
grouper, kingfish, and all that.
Yep. And they're catching the tarpon on those.
You know what makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why somebody will figure something like that out. They'll say, "Oh, we're using the speed jigs, vertical jigs for that same ones we use for grouper and kings on the tarpon."
Yeah.
And you're thinking, really? Then you go, "Well, it makes perfect sense."
Nope.
Don't know why. The only thing I would do is, obviously take treble hook off, make sure it's single hooks.
Yeah.
That
And they're not doing them like the slow pitch action. They're actually just kind of raising it up, lowering it back down a little bit. They're not reefing on it and snagging these fish. They're actually just slow hopping them just along with the current. So the current's catching it fluttering down, and they're just gently raising their rods up and picking them up that way. And they're all in that 40 to 80 pound range. There's not a lot of big ones out there right now.
Yeah, but still, that's,
The fun size.
if I've caught, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of tarpon. And at my age, with my injuries and all my goofy stuff that keeps me from doing stuff, 40 pounds is an amazing tarpon. Handles easy on the rod. You get all the jumps. You have all the fun. Perfect size tarpon. The last time you and I were in the pass together, it's been a few years ago. I'm sitting there, cast out, and I'm going along, and I feel the bump, set the hook, and I'm feeling the weight on it, and I flip the bail open, and I'm walking around. "Hey, Robert, let me check your rod out. I don't think you had a bait on there." Here, and I closed the bail and handed him the rod. That's for you, Robert. I went back and sat there. Next one I got was about 60 pounds. That one was probably 130.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. This guy there.
Yeah.
I forget he's on
Him.
that side. Yeah. He does. He has a great time with the 130s. I like 40, 60, 80, 10.
I'm starting to get to that point, but I'm still enjoy every one of them that I can catch.
That's why I gave you the rod. You were going to be happy. I was going to be, "Oh, really? Make this end."
Yeah.
But
Anything besides tarpon out here?
Some
in my
Sheepshead, snapper?
40s or my 30s or my 20s,
all day long.
oh man, we had so much fun. We'd see how quick we could get them to the boat. They'd be so green. They'd smash you in the face. You'd have nosebleeds, loosen your teeth. I mean, they're a ball.
Mm-hmm.
A great time with that.
Definitely.
Black eyes. Yeah, never wear sunglasses when you're handling a very green tarpon because he's going to hit you in the face.
Yeah.
It's just a matter, can you turn your head and only get bruises, or do you actually get,
Yeah.
nasty stuff?
Bad stuff. So yes,
Isn't it
there are
funny?
some.
That's what young people think is fun. And I get it. I kind of remember.
There are still
Badly
some.
can I bleed?
Yeah. There's still some Spanish mackerel in there, along with some bluefish and some ladyfish coming through. A few guys have been hooking into some mangrove snapper on that south side in that 35 to 38 feet of water range. Not as many people targeting them, though. They're just a couple of guys. But the water is extremely clear out there right now, so
Like I say, if you
Float.
want to catch more fish, switch back maybe 8-pound mono or fluorocarbon.
yeah.
Use the same leader you're using now, fluorocarbon, and you will see an increase in your fish. There's not one color braid that's invisible to fish.
Nope.
I'm beginning to like white more
Yeah.
because when you use the white braid, either Invisibraid or the Suffix or whatever, the white tends to get dyed the color of the water.
Right. It picks up
Whatever's
those
in the
pigments.
water, making it look blue or green or brown or whatever, ends up in that dyeing the white line to that color. So I'm really thinking about that a lot more with the white.
Yeah.
All right, cruising on to the surf fishing, walking Gulf beaches, anywhere from Sanibel to Venice.
The two main reports that I've had have been from right in the immediate vicinity around Sharkeys or Venice Pier. And they're getting whiting, a couple of oddball Spanish mackerel that came in close enough there. And then a couple of redfish in the evening and at night. But the main reports I've gotten have been from Blind Pass Park and Englewood Beach. And both those have been whiting, a few sheepshead, definitely some catfish. Her and her family, they caught, I think, 4 bonnet heads that day. And what was the other one? Oh, they had a big puffer. They had a puffer that was probably somewhere in the range of between 10 and 12 inches long. But it was cool because they had actually kind of like a before and after picture as the kid was reeling it up into the sand, and then him holding it in his hand, and the look of excitement and terror at the same time on his face was pretty cool because he's got this grapefruit in his hand, and they said as soon as they sat it in the water, it deflated and just swam away as quick as a puffer fish can swim.
See, those
But
are the videos we got to
that
get
was-
for on here
Yeah.
showing people. This is a learning experience.
Oh, it's
On
So-
December 5th, we couldn't hardly make anything work. And Josh is doing an excellent job of getting everything figured out, making it work. Robert's got all the fishing report. Josh was telling me, well, we're going to make the fishing report shorter. We got to eliminate some of this stuff. I said, well, then I don't have to do this because I do nothing but add time and ridiculous comments. I am not, you guys could just blow through this, but sorry, my store, I paid for the money. I paid for the equipment. I get to be here because I'm having fun.
We did just blow through it, and that's what we were doing when we were doing the radio reports with just me and Robert.
I'm just saying,
yeah,
it's just kind of funny. And
you're the color.
the worst part about this is I am not a self-conscious person. Would either of you guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just the way I am, who I am. My hair's messy. My hair's not messy. You just kind of, that's the way I am. How many shows are we in now?
Well, this is the 4th place-by-place fishing report, and
So-
then we had several other shows that we did. So
But
a
I'm finally
bunch.
getting to the point where I don't care. If I'm going out here with Tim Walsh jazz hands, well, so be it. I don't care. This is who I am. This is the way my hands work. This is how I look every day. I'm not dressing up for the camera because I don't think you need me dressed up. You're just interested in the fishing. So,
Right.
I thought you were dressed up a little bit.
Well, I still got my t-shirts on.
Yeah,
So.
there's hardly any holes in those pants, though.
Yeah, but
So
yeah, these actually, every once in a while you have to buy new jeans. And they still won't fall because I have no ass anymore.
Yeah.
Still won't stay up.
Matlacha, Indian Field, Smokehouse Bay, such associated areas.
redfish and trout have been kind of scattered all over the place down there. Most of the redfish have been smaller, but there's been some decent trout all the way up to like 22, 23 inches. Not great numbers by any stretch, but definitely better quality fish.
This is not as bad as it looks on the chart because when you're coming from Matlacha going up, it looks like you got a lot of shallow water there, but it's pretty well marked and it's pretty easy to get up here. And Matlacha, before the last hurricanes, was literally one of our favorite places to go to. And it's starting to come back a little bit, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah. It's like anything else. It's just time when it gets destroyed by Mother Nature.
Way back up here, there's a bait shop, and you can get out through here. They got a boat ramp and a bait shop. If you want to fish this area, D&D, I don't know if it's D&D Bait and Tackle or whatever, but D&D,
Something like that, but yeah, that's where the ramp is.
yeah, awesome folks. If you're down Matlacha, stop into D&D at the bait shop down there. You won't find nicer people. They're great. And, we talk on the phone a lot. We help each other out. But great place to go if you're in Matlacha. And there's a restaurant right next to it that I like a lot as too. I like a lot as well as too. God.
As also, Frank.
Yes.
As also.
I like it more so than I don't.
Trout, smaller redfish. Anything else, Robert?
That's all I got down there.
No puffers?
Oh, there's plenty of puffers. Those kind of go without saying anymore right now. There's plenty of puffers and lizardfish to take away all of your soft plastics, or if you got any little bit of bait out there, they're going to wreak havoc on it.
Any reports from the bridge specifically?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I wonder if Dee is part of the D&D. You know, Dee, the woman who works down there.
Could be.
I wonder if she's part of the D&D.
I'm pretty
No,
sure.
no.
she's-
I
It's
never
probably
thought
her-
about
it's
that
probably her
before. I was
mother.
talking to her on the phone this morning, and just now, I'll have to ask her. I gotta give her a
Probably her mother, though, because she hasn't been around as long as they have.
call. Yeah, she's a lot younger than the bait shop.
Yeah.
All right, cruising on over to Pine Island Sound.
Pine Island Sound. There has been some pretty decent fishing down there. I have not heard of much for redfish, but I've heard a couple decent reports of some big snook along the edges of the mangroves, and then some decent trout along with the Spanish mackerel and a few bluefish. The trout, Spanish mackerel have all been out anywhere from, guys are catching them up on those flats because there's so many drop offs that are so close. They're catching them in 2 feet of water to 6 feet of water down in there.
Yeah.
And it's all been mostly on soft plastics or just live shrimp.
If you're coming down here to this area, you got Patricio and all these islands and Rat Cat and all these things. There's so much, and there's so much water. What you want to do is stay in the boat channel until you get to the area. Okay, I want to go fish. Back your throttle down to idle because it's so. You're looking at it, and it might look like there's a water, and there's none. You look at it, you might think there's no water, and there's a lot of water. The only way you're ever going to figure this out is to literally do it. And if this is not where you go, don't worry about seeing other boats running here and there and everything else. Idle through, because get yourself a good pair of polarized glasses, big hat, and idle your boat across these flats to find where the deep areas are and where the deep areas aren't. And as you get on that flat, stop for a minute, switch over to your tide chart, get the local tide marker, and see how much water you have then. And that way, if you go in there again, you look at the tide chart and go, oh, no way I was going to get through there. I only had 4 inches of clearance, and the tide's 6 inches lower than it was. Or the tide's much higher than it was, so I'm going to be able to just go right through those areas. You need to stop and look and see what the bottom's like. Watch the bottom, watch in front of you, see what your environment is at slow speed so you can actually see and absorb it. At the same time, check your tide levels. And almost everybody's GPS now, you just hit that, it shows you a nice graph, and it's going to show you that you're at like 1.2, 1.7, whatever it's going to be. Know your tide levels, so now you know how to get in and out of those areas.
But there are a ton of cool areas down here to explore. Lots of little places, micro sites that you can check out.
I love fishing down there.
It's one of the coolest areas you've taught me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have it memorized by any stretch, but just
all the trenches that go through and a couple islands that you're sitting there and everything around you is literally 18 inches deep. Then boom, there's a 12, 15 foot hole.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's all get go down there. It's beautiful.
And they have cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
What is it?
They have cheeseburgers.
At Cabbage Key, yeah.
Yeah, cheeseburgers.
No, if you go to Cabbage Key and you haven't been there, you're going to go in, and if you have a small boat, just, a 20 foot, whatever, not 28 foot or whatever, but you just go in and go to the left, right up against the shore, pull your boat in, walk off the end, 38 feet up to the restaurant. When you go there, say, do you have any room in the back? You want to sit in the back room, the screen room. There's dollar bills with everybody's name on it, all taped to the ceiling. About $8,000 falls off the ceiling a year that they donate to charity. And except in the bar, when you go in there to order your vodka and tonic, you can, oh, look, that's Jimmy Buffett. That's where he wrote Cheeseburger in Paradise. His name is on a dollar bill there.
That's pretty neat.
All right. Let's hit Jug Creek Shoal and Bokeelia.
Honestly, the only thing I've gotten is some guys are going down there and catching some pinfish and some small bait. But there should be trout there. There should be Spanish mackerel there with the bait, but I have not gotten any reports with it. So it's just hypothetical.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on to Burnt Store and Two Pines. Just look for the 2 pine trees, right, Frank?
No.
Well, there's Burnt Store,
probably was
and there's Two Pines.
Probably was at some point, kind of like Three Sisters. Basically, there's been a lot of snook and redfish as you get closer to Two Pines. They're up underneath the bushes. They are somewhat out on the flats a little bit. They are hitting shrimp, bait fish if you can find them. Some of them have been taking some cut bait. And then there has been some trout down there towards Two Pines too, just on the outer edge, in the deeper water in that 3 to 6 feet of water range. Shrimp has been the best thing, but throwing them off plastics, the puffer fish are going to beat the living snot out of you. I haven't heard of any pompano, no ladyfish, no other critters that are usually associated with that bar down there, but at least the snook and redfish have been good. One guy had a picture of, I think it was 38-inch snook down there.
Would you say this is more Price is Right or Vanna White that you were doing just there? With your...
I was trying to show all the different areas Robert was kind of talking about. You see these darker areas here. You don't have to adjust it.
So don't zoom in?
What?
Don't zoom in?
No, please don't.
Oh. I already did.
There's a creek mouth that comes here. You see there's a little deeper spot here, down through here, all along here, and back up in here, and these areas. Those are the shorelines Robert's talking about. But you can kind of go up along the inside. Here's the outside. It's a very defined bar right in through here. And what these weird things is, believe it or not, this is so terrorists can't target stuff. Anything connected to the Gulf or the Atlantic, intercoastal waterways has to be blurred out, because terrorists won't spend, $100 on buying a chip for their GPS. They got to do Google Earth, so stupid. But along these bars, it's very hard to get back here. Idle up to the bar and see if you can get over it. If you can get over it, then you can get back to some of these areas. But coming up along here is not much better than trying to get along the sandbar. This is shallow. And I mean, when it's got a lot of water on it, that's 18 inches. It's not 3 or 4 feet on a high tide and a foot or two on a low tide. It's inches on a low tide and maybe a foot or two on a high tide.
So good for wade fishing, though.
What's that?
So good for wade fishing. Almost made for it.
Wading on this flat right here is some of the best you'll ever find in the world. It is amazing for walking and catching fish. You just got to anchor your boat up and, don't walk too far away from the boat.
Yeah.
If you want to keep going up there, go back, get the boat, move it up,
And if you're one of those boatless folks, well, hey, you know what? You can park it right here, and you can walk a trail right on down to the water's edge, and you can wade yourself right on out there.
Because this is actually the shoreline back here where you see the green. All of this is underwater. This is all the flats. You get all the holes. All these dark spots are deeper areas. And the wade fishing there is spectacular most of the time.
All right. We move north.
What I like is when all the little sharks move onto there, gets covered up with like bonnet sharks, which if you don't live here and you don't know, they look like hammerheads because they're basically little tiny hammerhead. And when they come across the flat, watching the tourists go, and what do you call when somebody inherits the body of somebody else? They become Jesus. They're just high stepping, walking back to running back to the shore. It's absolutely hilarious because you see them. Bonnethead's not going to bother you, but I mean, if it was an 8-foot bull shark, maybe you leave, maybe you don't. But with those little bonnets, you don't leave. But watching somebody who sees a school of sharks coming at them for the first time, awesome. And I know they're not going to get hurt, so it is funny.
Yeah, when it's bonnethead sharks, it's funny.
When it's funny, yeah. If it was, 12 hammerheads that were, 10 foot long, or a pack of bull sharks or something, that would be scary.
That's less funny.
That would be scary. But a bunch of little bonnetheads running them off, and then they go, there was hammerheads in there, and you say, no, they were bonnetheads.
All right, the East Side Keys and Pirate Harbor.
All around just to the north and the south of the entrance of Pirate Harbor, they've been getting some small snook, some okay redfish, mostly up underneath the bushes, but we had such low water this week That report from 2 different people is probably 4 days, maybe even 5 days old now. Inside Pirate Harbor, they are still getting some trout. Not great numbers of them, but they are getting some trout in there. But a couple guys have got some 12 and 14-inch mangrove snapper off their docks. Like, really surprisingly big. Trying to think what else.
Screw up your mouse.
Nope, we're good.
They've seen a couple of bonnet heads out there on the flats. That's always a good hot spot. Like, if you want to go out there and take, with Christmas being here and you got so many relatives down visiting, and especially a lot of your grandkids, they will always want to come to Florida and catch a shark. That's one of the areas where I would always go to personally if I had one choice.
Now, I like snook fishing on this little island in there. There's a little island that we would go around, and it's really skinny getting around there most of the time. But you just stay back, cast along the island. There's a lot of, 24-inch snook hang on there occasionally, but it's fun. But down in through these pockets down here, there's some pretty good snook fishing, especially right along this edge. Hard to get to. Very skinny.
Yeah.
Be very careful. If you see boats over there and you just turn and run at those boats, you probably won't get out. You need to go idle in, see what your boat will do there. Doesn't matter what his boat does, doesn't matter what her boat does, it's what your boat does. So go in very slow. You can find that deep water trough all along this back edge here, and there's fish there if you can get there.
Yeah, and then the lesson that I keep having to
getting out. Pay attention.
The lesson I keep having to reteach people too is once you've determined what your boat can do, getting in and out, if you're going to do it again, check the tide. Is it lower or higher than it was the last time you did this?
What I was trying to tell people in Pine Island, just getting there. Oh, I can get in there that time. Look at your tide graph, see how much water you had.
Yep.
Then the next time you go in, look at the graph before you get there. Do I have more or less water than when I was here the last time?
Over and over again. And if you're tired of us mentioning it, hey, bad news. We'll probably mention it again real soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Some things are very important.
Alligator Creek Poachers Cut and the skating rink.
I've still got nothing from up in there.
This is technically the skating rink here, because when the guys went in there, the guys first started fishing there years ago, the bottom was so even. There was very little ripples or potholes or anything in it. They said, Jesus, as flat as a skating rink. And that's how this started taking on its name. Now it's expanded to cover kind of this whole area. This is the sandbar that is the harbor, sandbar, and the flats back here. And this whole section now has become known as the skating rink up through here. And Poacher's Cut kind of creeps along back here and goes up into PGI. But now you have a big canal to get through here.
Now, see, that's not the story that Mike Myers told me about why that's called the skating rink.
Why is it?
He told me it's because it's one of the shallowest places in the harbor. So when it gets really cold, that's one of the places that freezes first.
Salt water doesn't really freeze, Josh.
I didn't say I believed him. Just telling you, that's the story he told me.
Salt water doesn't really freeze. The coldest I've ever seen it here was 28 degrees. And you might get a little bit of skim ice on it, but the water just goes to 28. The salt keeps it from freezing. So,
well, you got to take Mike with a grain of salt.
And Mike is coming to do a couple shows for this year.
Yeah,
possibly.
So if he tells stories like that, just nod and say, "Oh, that's really cool, Mike. That's awesome to know." So
I like Mike, even though he's
Mike.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot.
Ponce de Leon Park.
Just a lot of poaching going on there with all the little snapper. There's been a mullet run coming and going through there too, so a couple of guys have been snagging them with some treble hooks, and then the commercial boys have been just sitting out front waiting for them.
Commercial netters are not allowed past this point. They're allowed here, but they're not allowed here. So they can sit out here, and as the big schools of mullet come out, throw cast nets on them, but they're not allowed to throw anywhere from that line. So that's what Robert's talking about. But if you're standing on the dock here, there is snook under that dock. There is snappers all along this edge over here there's a piling, and it's all hollowed out around that piling. And then along the shoreline, this is from that piling back in along here. I've caught a lot of snook there. There are some snook along through here, more up here in the bend, but sheephead run this whole, out of the way, Frank, from this point all the way up. Sheephead are passing by. I don't know anywhere where they stay, but at the entrance to this lake, I've caught sheephead, and occasionally I'll ambush a sheephead moving in and out of here. But usually there's activity at ponds, whether it's small fish or big fish, but green rattle traps, weird lime green, dark green rattle traps. And it doesn't have to be a rattle trap brand. It can be any type. Strike King makes a decent one. All these companies do. But I'll stand here by the boat ramp and cast this whole area with a rattle trap and do very good on snook in the morning. But green and silver or green, something with green on it.
All right, moves us on to the overall PGI canal system and Punta Gorda general area.
A lot of people seeing the juvenile tarpon around their lights at night. And then the jacks have been in there. Guys that are slow trolling coming and going from their houses are picking up jacks up to like 8 pounds. I haven't heard of anything over 10. But then they're also picking up a few snook. Guys are catching some small mangrove snapper off their docks along with an oddball sand brim. That's pretty much about what I got for up in there. Hasn't been setting the world on fire by any stretch, but doing good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like that more and more guys are trolling after listening to you say it for all these years, and you and I and everybody else.
Yeah, the larger of the two crystal minnows is a real good size to troll through there.
Yeah.
The 10 Rapala I like, but it's a little thick. I like the Ozuri crystal minnow. It's thinner, and it seems to produce more fish.
Yeah.
And we're not sponsored by either one. It doesn't matter. We're sponsored. The only lure company we have as a sponsor right now is DOA. And I hounded Mark for hours to sign the papers because I said, Mark, I'm going to be talking about your stuff all the time anyway. So the only lure company I absolutely wanted was DOA. No other lure company sponsored this. Quantum Lures is one of our big sponsors, or Quantum Reels and Rods are a big sponsor of the show. We love their products and we're getting to them. Now we're going to be fishing pretty much Quantum stuff. There are a couple other rods and reels I'll have to use because Quantum's not making them yet. But I love the new Quantum stuff. The Strive, why can't I get the name?
Benchmark.
What?
Benchmark.
And
then the
now
Merit.
The new Cabo.
Oh, they have the Merit and
Yeah, the Merit. Is that
that's
above
below.
or below?
Below.
That's what I thought.
That's kind of their introductory reel, which is still really incredible.
Yeah.
And then they just came out with the Cabo that we just got in, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, we got one here somewhere. And it was funny at the show, in order to sell those, they were literally showing the first Cabo, which was really pretty reel, to the second Cabo, which was a gorgeous reel with lots of bling and everything on it, and to the dullest looking Cabo, but probably if not the strongest reel ever made, at least in the top few. I mean, the new Cabo's pretty badass. It's a nice reel. Doesn't look like the other ones.
Nope. It doesn't have the bells and whistles as far as
if you want
pretty,
go to somebody else. But if you want, damn, this thing works, go to Quantum.
Yeah.
All right, moves us out to Alligator Creek Reef.
Can you zoom in and see the pilings?
The answer is maybe.
I think they're a little further south. Ooh, look at there. There's something there. Boats.
I think that's a piling,
Yeah,
and
those
that's
are
a
the
piling.
pilings. And there's a boat there. And
Yeah.
zoom back out. Is that north or south? Got to be the north
I
end.
think that's the north end.
Yep, there's the south end right there.
No, I think that's another boat.
Yeah, but that would be probably on the reef.
I think that's
It's
the south
only
end.
1 mile long.
There's the south
it
end
is.
there.
Boy, you're good, Josh. Look at that. Pilings at south end, pilings at the north end. Anything between the pilings at the south end and the pilings at the north end?
Been some small cobias still being caught out there, not in the numbers that they were a couple weeks ago, but even then they were still small, and I mean small, like 20 to 26 inches.
That's small. They're
Yeah.
fun if you've got a very light rod,
Right.
but yeah, they're small.
I've had several people in this week that have gotten a few sheepshead off of there, nothing big, but just barely legal, and some small mangrove snapper, which is the first final reports that I've had of actual bottom fish there. And I don't know how long. It's been so weird ever since Ian.
Right.
Basically, the fishing has just kind of gone downhill on the structure-oriented fish. There has been a few Spanish mackerel going through there, but it's not like a targetable spot. If I'm going through the area, I might drag a spoon going through there to see if I can pick one up, but I'm not going to actually sit on it and try for them.
Okay. Yeah, what you don't realize is right now I'm looking at the camera off to my right, but it looks like I'm looking that way at those guys. So this is hard. When Robert's looking at me, he's looking the wrong way, so I step over the way so he can talk to me and make it easier. We're learning how to do this stuff, guys. We want to bring in your guys' videos, pictures, your emails with fishing reports and all that. That's coming up very soon. But we've just kind of got to the point where we can do that.
Come on, we're 4 reports in. We should be experts.
Yeah, 4 reports in, we should be experts. But where are we at now?
We are at the 20-foot holes.
I got nothing.
Early on, you kind of go out. Marker 1's about here, so you're going just southwest, and that hits the top of the hole right there.
Doesn't matter because ain't nothing there.
Nothing there.
Baitfish reports?
The little bit has been down there by Jug Creek and a little bit down towards Devilfish, but it has not been consistent. The water temperature is right for some of it, but I still think it's just a little off. And I know there's been some up on the north end around marker 2 here and there, but those guys are either getting out there at dark 30 and throwing for 2 hours or striking out.
When they took out the other 3 pilings, just put the single piling there.
Yeah. Changed everything.
Make it tough.
Yeah.
It's going to make it tough. I don't know if you'd legally be allowed to put pilings or other stuff around that post on the underwater.
Unfortunately, probably not.
I'm pretty sure you can.
Anything that's beneficial to the fishing and
I've thought about to the tire reef. So rubber tire reef's right in here somewhere.
Somewhere in there. I
It
doubt I'll
doesn't
be able to
really
find
matter,
that.
just close counts. Yeah, back up a little bit more. Back up. All right. Somewhere in this area here, there's a 4-post tire reef. And I just wonder if I was to take some PVC and go across with up and down pipes and then go across and just bolt those to one of the pilings, that would make a great bait habitat. I don't know if that would be illegal or not, because they're not navigation markers. They're just showing where the reef is. And if I could bolt what kind of looked like an H pattern with a double cross, let me get over here. So you get 2 uprights and 2 cross members, kind of like the letter H, a capital H. And you just put a bolt in the top and bottom one on, so it's underwater. I wonder if that'd be legal. It would hold a lot of bait. I mean, it really would.
Yeah. I don't disagree with your assessment of the habitat improvement, but I'll bet it would be illegal.
You
crawl around and try to find a law.
It's just, showing where the reef was.
Yeah, no, I getcha.
But if we could, make some outside things more resembling the 4 pilings that used to hold up marker 2, so that the bait fish would have something to be inside of. They'd have the piling with the exterior type pilings, which you would probably fill with sand or concrete or something so they wouldn't want to float up, or I guess just throw a hole in the bottom and leave them open. But that would make some great habitat. It'd be simple. It wouldn't be expensive to do. Just got to figure out how to get your screw gun to work underwater. My Makita is not probably going to work as well if I've got it underwater.
Probably not. But
Probably not.
Probably could figure out a way of just attaching it at the top and sinking it or something.
all right, that brings us to the ditch pickle report: freshwater canals, creeks, rivers, ponds, lakes, spillways, and bathtubs.
So the main thing I've been hearing about is the tilapia and the Mayan cichlids lately. And that's because we got so warm that the crappie bite started to turn on and got real quiet real quick. And then the bass fishing 9 Mile Canal has probably been, or Cocoa Plum Waterway, but the locals call it 9 Mile Canal. That's had some pretty decent bass on it. None of the spillways are really flowing with any water, but that's you've got the deep side and then you've got the shallow side of those spill dams. And those bass have been kind of hanging around some of those deep sides.
What you going there for, Josh?
That's 9 Mile, isn't it? Yeah,
Maybe.
right there along Hillsborough.
I can't tell where you're at on the map.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering. I was
So-
asking, not darn you, why are you doing this? Literally, why are you zooming in?
So yeah,
is this
if we
the 9 Mile right here?
yeah, so that's basically the county line between Charlotte and Sarasota counties, and Hillsborough Boulevard runs along it, and the canal itself is right there next to it. And there's lots of places where you can get
What
out and you
road
can
is
fish.
this? Here.
That is, well, I'm not sure where I came in at. Atwater intersects with it. Let's see.
Going up, I usually drive up just outside of Fort Charlotte, Toledo Blade. They got the big gas station there on that.
Yeah.
Make a right, go to the first bridge, and right before the first bridge, make a left or right.
Yeah, there's a bunch of roads that intersect with it, and you can see in some places you do have actual
That's a dam. Right
dams
there.
that go all the way across it. So, yeah, that's Collingswood. That's what that is.
And there's a lot of small finger canals that jolt off of it and go under Hillsborough proper. So you can fish on one side of Hillsborough, the other side of Hillsborough, and then drive to the next spot. So it's like if you want to run and gun, so to speak, jump from spot to spot, I'd be doing that, and hitting.
I don't think the microphone's having a problem hearing you. Just me has a problem hearing you when you get that low.
Gotcha. But I like it because there's so many little spots along the way, along with the spill dams. So there's so many different little pieces of topography to choose from
Yeah.
to try to, because fishing,
Basically,
land-based
park the door,
fishing
lock
is
the
tough.
door, And well, the water's that way somewhere. Just trying to make as unobvious of a trail as possible. The more obvious your trail is, the more people that are going to want to look at where you go.
Definitely.
People drive along that Hillsborough, and what they're looking for is the marks of people making paths to go back to the water.
Right.
So you want to kind of step and try not to make it obvious that you've made a path going back there. Wait till you look from the road and see where you can do it without leaving signs that you did it. Got to be more engine fired up. Got to be
Yep.
sneaky.
And if you got a small kayak or a small john boat or a ginu or canoe,
We love those because they make big drag marks going back there. You can tell right where to go fishing.
well, but you can park next to the main bridges
Yeah.
and park and slide in right down those.
And some of the bridges you can fish from, some of them you can't.
Yeah. Just got to watch the signage.
What'd you find there, Josh?
A place where people launch little boats.
Where is that off of?
So, I don't think this will actually give me an address because we're on Google Earth, not Google Maps. But that's Raintree Boulevard that goes off of there. Raintree is an extension off of Hillsborough as you head towards 75. And then there's a left, and then there's a left. And then there's a little ramp right there. And it's easy to find because it's right across from all this stuff that they do with the dirt biking.
Yeah, this is
So-
all dirt bikes and people running four-wheelers and dirt bikes. And all
Yeah.
that.
So if you want to poke around a little bit on Google Maps instead of Google Earth, that way you can convert it over to see what the
Right.
actual addresses are.
This is what's going to be easy to find.
Yep.
And once you see this, then you can do that.
Or you can look at
As you-
what this looks like where Veterans makes the turn and where Raintree makes a turn. It's almost like an X where the roads kind of almost meet but don't quite. and then just go a little north of that.
Veterans, which goes from Kings Highway over to 776. Anyway, that's how you find that little spot.
All right, brings
One
us
of the
to
spots
the.
we're gonna have to go fish because my boat is not gonna be ready. What was the name of that? Do you remember the name of that fiberglass company? Cape Coral?
Yeah, it's Factory Finish.
Factory Finish. Yeah, they're gonna be fixing my boat up. I was gonna run it the way it was because it looks like me, very weathered, a lot of pieces missing, chunks. It's kind of broken a little bit.
Yeah.
But Factory Finish is gave me a real good price on. Going to make it nice again.
Yeah, and I saw some of the work they did. It looks fantastic.
So hopefully
I think she's
going to
do great
let
for
you
you.
know how Factory Finish does. If they do a great job, we're going to be jumping up and down yelling yay. If they don't, I'm going to let you know.
The tarpon reports. We've got some in Boca Grande Pass, Robert. Were there any place else?
That's it. That is the only one, and I will be willing to bet a lot of money that they'll be gone after next Tuesday.
So,
This might be your last big hurrah these next couple
get
days.
there in the next couple days. It's going to be good. But we're getting a cold front move in, and here is Boca Grande Pass. If you go about 100 miles that way, you run into Key West. Now, if fish is nothing, let's say they sleep between 6 and 8 hours a day. So that's 18 hours a day. They got nothing to do. If you zoom way back, Josh. It's give or take 100 miles from here, here down to here. So it's not that far. They can swim through the harbor, come out at Punta Gorda, and just right down to here. When we used to go out to the dry tortugas and all that, and even just going to the Keys, we would just, run the boat down, and then from here, just shoot straight down to Key West. It's 100 miles, give or take, so 125, maybe 130, 40 miles. It doesn't take that long to do it, and it's right that far. So the tarpon can easily do this within 2 days. If they're in a hurry, they can be there in a day.
Yeah. It ain't really that far.
Well,
No.
5 miles.
Swallow a bug?
Allergies are killing me. Either that or the cigarettes. One of the two is killing me.
It's probably both.
Probably both. But if you went 100 miles at 5 miles an hour, that's 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ain't that far.
Nope.
So, time, speed, distance. How far could a fish be? I was just catching them here yesterday. How far away could they go? Well, if that fish was swimming at a half a mile an hour for 2 hours, he's a mile away. If he was swimming at a half a mile an hour, in 15 minutes, he's a quarter mile away.
And they don't even have to swim. They can just ride the tide, and it'll carry them those kinds of distances with no problem.
But I can remember thinking like that. Well, I was just catching them here. How far could they go? I mean, they were right here. They got to be right around here. Then you start thinking average fish probably swims 2-3 miles an hour. So in an hour, they're 2-3 miles away. You could be literally catching them here at ponds. They could be in Alligator Creek before you know it.
Just watch a coconut float by.
Yeah.
It's out of sight in no time.
It's confused me many times too, but I'm starting to time, speed, and distance. When you start getting that together, you start saying, gee whiz. Going over to my little perch.
Okay. You can de-sunglass now if you want to.
I can de-sunglass.
Or you can leave them on there too. That's fine too.
Don't I look cool with sunglasses? Like hippie-like beatnik from the 60s?
Yes, you're right. I apologize. So, yeah, you look very cool. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I just was trying to stay in theme with, Maynard G. Krebs. That's where I was kind of channeling the Maynard G. Krebs vibe.
Yeah, you did real good.
Any of you under really old, look it up.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
So, I can't help it.
Yeah.
I'm old. We do old guy, references.
All right.
Now,
Are we done?
I was waiting for you.
Okay, I think we're done. The music's playing. I hear it going. I'm just
How do you hear
waiting
that?
for Robert to say goodnight.
Good night, Robert.
Okay.
That was it.
But how did you hear that music? I've got my volume up where I hear the beginning music.
Good night and sleep tight. We gotta go.
Oh.
We'll see y'all real soon for the next show.
Anybody know how to run
Till
equipment?
then, catch 'em up. Tight lines, everyone. Fishing Frank's Fishing Club. Now our job is done.